Hey, today we're going to talk about pacifiers. So, this is really a hot topic, I feel like, for a lot of people. A lot of different recommendations from different organizations about why you might use one, why not to use one, when to use one, how long to use one, all of that stuff. So, today I'm just going to try and cover the first month of your baby's life and what is the recommendation if you're planning on breastfeeding. So, we know just by looking at your own breast tissue and your own nipple that I have not met a mother that's nipple has looked like this: firm, hard, not really super flexible. Like, no woman's nipple is ever gonna look like a pacifier. So, when it comes to breastfeeding, we usually try and recommend to get breastfeeding really well established first before you introduce a pacifier if you're planning on doing so. And for most moms and babies, I would say that takes about a month or so. Some babies will get the hang of it sooner and quicker, and others might take a little bit longer, especially if they run into any extra challenges. But about a month or so is usually what we try and recommend for when to wait before we introduce one of these if you're planning on using one. Now, some of the reasons of why we try and wait a month is, for one, because this is going to feel a lot different than your own nipple is. Sometimes babies will have a hard time latching onto your breast when they've been latching on to a pacifier because they prefer this hard, firm stimulation in the roof of their mouth. And when they come to your breast, it's not there. So sometimes it can interfere with latching. Along with babies, maybe getting used to the firmness of a nipple, using a pacifier in the early days and weeks of breastfeeding can sometimes cause issues with their latching and then causing pain, damage when they're latching to your breast. And some of that is because they're getting used to latching and sucking on a thing like this and not that wide, deep latch that we want to see on your breast. Another thing that can happen with pacifiers is that anytime a baby is sucking on something, doesn't matter if it's a pacifier, if it's your breast tissue, someone's finger, whatever, if a baby is sucking on something, there's a hormone in their body. It's called cholecystokinin, and it's getting released, telling them that they're satisfied, they're full, they've had a meal. So if we're letting them suck on a pacifier and they're not actually getting a meal, they might miss feeds. It can lead to poor weight gain. Now, once you feel like breastfeeding is well established and going well, there are some organizations out there like the American Academy of Pediatrics, or the AAP, that recommend offering a pacifier to your baby when they're going to sleep in particular. There seems to be something that maybe helps with lowering the risk of SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, if we offer babies pacifiers when they're going to sleep. So there are reasons to maybe use it after that first month or so. But again, like I said in previous videos, we want to know what tools we're using, why we're using it, and using it for the right reason. Now, I think that there are some exceptions to the rule, as always, and I don't think that you should feel bad if you have ended up using a pacifier in the first month of your baby's life and you're breastfeeding, because I think there are some situations where we need to give a little grace and we can use a tool for a short period of time and it's still fine. One of those being, if you know that, one, your baby is well fed, like they just had a really good feeding at the breast, and you're in a car and your baby's screaming and you know that you're 5 minutes away from your destination, by all means, like, use what tools you need to help calm your baby. And if one of those for you is to use a pacifier, use it. Don't feel too bad about it. But if you're going to choose to use a pacifier in the first month, try and keep it limited as infrequently as you can, and make sure that it's after a good feeding so that we're not missing it and they're getting that cholecystokinin I'm full hormone from a pacifier instead of when they're actually getting fed from your breast. So hopefully some of that helps clear up some questions that you might have had about pacifiers, helps you answer that question if people are asking you if you're going to do pacifiers, when you're going to. Again, there's lots of debate out there about when you should use them, if you should, how long. And those are all good questions to bring up with your pediatrician and do your own research on. But as far as breastfeeding goes, try and wait that first month if you can, to get that optimal start of breastfeeding down before you start introducing them if you choose to.